Hello, welcome to Win Some Lose More. My name is Dieter Loosemore, joined yet again by my brother Rick for the midway point of our top 50 of 2024. We keep getting cut off by timers, so we're just going to jump straight in. Rick, what is your number 30?
My number 30 is new to the list, and this is Worm Spam, which is a, a sort of a re-implementation of Wingspan. It's definitely a sales compatriot. They look very similar, but I've actually listed them as we said about the Seven Wonders Duel for Middle Earth thing. I think they're the same. I think Wormspan and Wingspan are distinct. Um, and I was a bit sniffy about this when it came out. I do like Wingspan. And I was a bit like, oh, why they're doing with dragons. I really don't care about the dragon theme, and they've been very po-faced about it in terms of here's a category of what type of dragon this might be, and like this is all nonsense. This is all fake. Don't paint it in watercolors. Do it in cartoons because this isn't real. So don't try and paint it like it is. Don't make it look like Wingspan. But someone I know got it and I played it and I was like, oh, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
And I can tell that it's been designed not by Elizabeth Hargrave, who did Wingspan, but by Connie Vogelman, who did Apiary, which hasn't turned up on either of our lists so far and may do. Um, and I just think is a really smart action selection system with a real sort of sense of that exploration and making things a little bit stronger. It's not quite like your normal engine builder. This does this, does this, does this now. But now you've opened up more possibilities for, well, can I extend this action? And can I even get more action points so I can go a little bit longer? And there's some really nice, yeah, meaty is a bit of a joke, I suppose, but toothy choices in the whole thing. Yeah, it's on fire, man. It's on fire. That got really bad. Wormspan
Mhm,
30.
mhm, 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 mhm. My 30 down 11, the only down. I've had lots of downs with only like one up per list. These are lots of
Okay.
ups. This is the only down. Have
Mhm.
never owned, may never own, and love it Dominion. The deck builder, um, similar to Arceus in the sense of here's just a collection of cards it could be, similar to Quest for El Dorado. Here's lots of cards it could be. Let's just go and build a deck together, not like Arceus. Um, but build a deck and just play lots of stuff and then chain it together and do the stuff. And what is the arc of when do I start buying points cards because they're going to clog up my deck and my hand? But when do I start trimming that? And just really good. And it plays incredibly online. It plays incredibly physically. And so many
Mm.
people own it that I just don't need to, but I will always sit down to it. Really good Dominion.
Yeah. Dropped to 65 for me. I have played it this year a couple of times. I'd like to say really enjoy it. It's one of those that like if it had been in the 50, that would have been no problem for me.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't because of the way it shook up. But it's yeah, it's the granddaddy. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. This is number 29, which is not the highest it's ever been in my heart. It has been number one in the past. But since we've actually been making these lists, this is the highest it's ever been. And this definitely falls into the category of my kids are now playing this, and it reminds me how much I love it. Bonanza.
Oh, for goodness sake.
My 5-year-old beat me 2 nights ago as a two-player variant, and he's just slightly better at that because the trading is slightly more nebulous for him. But he's 5. Um, but he's like, oh great. What do you want this? No, I don't want that. I'm trying to get this type of bean, and I'm going to collect this. And then would you like a third bean? Yes, I would because I think it like this is amazing. And I think I said this last year. I've come full circle on the art. I kind of love it now, have it because it's so sort of horrible. I've always been like, this is so horrible, but now it's like got a weird charm of like being so horrible. It's cool. Yeah, so I kind of love it. It's a bean trading game. I know you hate it, but it does require sort of an internal maths ability, and that apparently my 5-year-old has, and you don't. Um, but but yeah, and it was always going to end up on the list. I'm faintly surprised at how high it is, but the kids always ask to play it, so there you go.
Yeah, trading is not my jam.
No.
My 29, I don't own anymore. It's gone up 11 places, and I can't tell you why, other than it's just the way it was. I was expecting this to be more in the realms of the Great Western Trail, Castles of Burgundy, tailing off the list kind of thing. Underwater Cities is great. And I played
Mm,
another game recently that I had planned to say and have immediately forgotten. Can't for the life of me remember what it is, but was a very different game to Underwater Cities, but gave me Plans of Caledonia. Um,
sure. Nice.
very different games, but for whatever reason, I can't tell you why, but just gives me that same feeling. And so it's just put it back in my brain as something that
Mm,
should be that Arc Nova too crunchy for me because it's a bit dense, but just works. And really
it's
simple choices of yes, that worker placement paired with a card play if they match, or you just get to do one thing. And so that whole do I take a I can't remember what game we were talking about in the previous list, but if I can take a slightly worse turn, oh maybe Isle of Trains, do I give you that thing? I know
yes.
it's not that, but do I almost do a worse turn for myself, but to get the exact thing that I need to do this other thing? It was a different
Yeah.
game. I don't remember what it is. Um, watch the other videos.
Mm,
Yes, I would happily play this anytime, and
mm,
I'm almost tempted to buy it again. I won't because it's more expensive than I think it warrants. Um, because it's a small publisher, and so if you want to support them, great. Um, but really satisfying. Again, I said at the top of the 50 that this list is much more led towards my satisfaction when I play it. Do I get to
mm.
the end of it and go, oh, I managed something, I did something, and this really gives me that. Underwater Cities, great game.
Yeah, dropped to 86 for me this year, which so it was in the shortlist for sure. It was 31 last year, and I said it might go a bit lower. I think looking at the games that are around it, it's probably a bit too low, but it's not too yeah. But it's I agree with everything you say. And it's crunchy and it's fun, it's puzzly, and I really like it. Just yeah, yeah, just not quite there for me anymore. All right, number 28 is new for me. We've said quite a lot. I think particularly in the last list, we like throwing dice. This is just throwing uh, two dice, and everyone's watching. This is Space Base.
Wow.
This is an interesting one from John D. Clare, and again, I said before, I'm looking forward to getting ready set bet from him because he's very good at the bell curve of two dice and going, how can I sort of mitigate that, change that, play with that. And Space Space is great. It's basically sort of a matchy Corey game, which I've also played for the first time this year. Has not made the 50, but I also enjoyed. But someone rolls a dice and everyone gets the benefit of it. Except in this, you've got two dice, and say you roll a three and a four, you could either score that as a seven or as a three and a four, and you get the different. And so immediately, like, oh, do I go with low numbers because they're always going to come up? It's funny because you have to reprogram your brain because anyone who's played Settlers of Catan or anything that uses two dice knows the most common outcome is seven. In this, the most common outcome is six
Yes.
because six is a discrete number on a single dice as well. You're like, oh my, I can't do the maths anymore, and he just has twisted that a little bit, and then all the cards sort of work and make sense. The theme are bleh, but yeah, just really interesting sort of. I like what you've done with two dice, Mr. Clare. Yeah, good. 28.
A mark of John Declare, I think, is, oh, I like what you've done with this very common, simple thing, or
Sure.
a very new, innovative way of doing something very simple. Like he also does a lot of games with those clear cards that, so
The
instead of a
card
deck builder,
crafting, yeah.
you're a card builder. Like just does one cool concept, but just very well. Very
Mm,
well. My 28 up 10 places, can't tell you why, just the shuffle. I think my top racing game, because I still like just how accessible the scope of this is insane. Downforce, I know it dropped out for you, you mentioned before, but just
mm,
fun. And have played with your kids, our other brother's kids, with adults of a broad range of ages. Just it just works, and the betting works for some people, it doesn't for others. That's okay, but it's still just fun going. And those slight powers, like the I get to resolve this in reverse order and to block
Yeah,
people off to which car am I going to move when kind of thing, or you get to choose where your car goes. All those just tiny little twists on a very simple. You play a card, you do what the numbers tell you. That's really boring. And yet they've managed to make this very fun with just those tiny twists, the different tracks that just have those
mm-hmm.
tiny twists that go, boy, this is just fun.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
lot of it
Yeah,
for
no, it's
me.
good.
Downforce.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right, number 27 is another new game. I've realized actually that the 20s is the highest amount of new games.
Hmm.
Uh, it's my favorite De Vere game. It's the White Castle,
Wow.
which I don't have you played this?
I've not yet. Yeah, I was interested with Red Cathedral and I was more interested with White Castle and just have never had the opportunity.
Yeah, it's actually a bit like, and I didn't say this when I was talking about it, but Lorenzo Magnifico, you roll some dice and that determines how strong your actions can be unmitigated.
Yeah, yeah.
And it has that same sort of thing. And so actually sometimes you might just get one and a two and a three, and you're like, oh, this is not as powerful. But it's the same for everyone. We're all on this same sort of, oh, this is not as powerful as I thought it could be. And that's just really interesting. It's
Hmm.
also very pretty and nice sort of theming, like geishas going to the temple trying to make the world a better place. I don't know. But it sings of where it's supposed to be. It's got enough to little sort of cardboard standees with little bridges where the dice go, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm buying this. Um, but it's and one of those games that actually full euro 40 minutes maybe for two players, and you go, let's play that immediately again because it's just I haven't won it yet. But it's yeah, and a really tasty, and De Vere's small box range. I don't know how they fit it all in there, but yeah, you'll like it. You should play it. The White
Grand.
Castle.
My 27, you mentioned last time, up 5 places because I played it again. The King is Dead, a box of magic with only 8 cards and cubes. Ah, Rick spoke about it last time, so I'm not going to go into it too much this time. But I've played at 4, which shouldn't work because it's silent. You know who your teammate is, but it's teams, but you can't plan because you go person one of team one, person one of team two, person two of team one, person two of team two. So like you can't, you're not sat next to each other muttering. Um, Similar to another game we'll talk about another time.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I know you will. But just I like things like Hanamikoji, where it's like you've got the same 4 actions and you just choose how you do them, and your opponent has the exact same 4 actions and they're just choosing how they do them. It's the exact
yeah,
same
yeah.
thing, but on a slightly grander scale. And that whole your
Slightly.
well, yeah, but you're manipulating the board for a faction to win, but you're not any of the factions, so you can just swap
Yeah,
going forward at the drop of a hat, and but you might want them for this one time because actually you're going for the sets of colors and not the actual.
yeah,
My
yeah,
goodness, because you always take a cube, but then you always place new
yeah,
cubes. And it's, what do you do? We didn't know how to
yeah.
play the first time because we just looked at it going, I read the rules, I understand all the words, they're in English. What? And we got to the end of the first game, you and I, and just went, okay, again, and again, and again, because it just sews itself together in a sublime fashion that I haven't
Yeah.
seen anywhere else with this kind of thing. So good.
No, it's true. It's true. It's true. Okay. All right, number 26 is almost a crossover with myself. This is Wingspan.
My 95
Dropped a lot for you
bird is dead. Long live the bird.
then. Long live the dragon. Yeah, I think this is definitely the more archaic system. I think if Wormspan was with birds, I'd probably prefer it, but I
Yes.
don't because I like
100%.
birds better than dragons. And yeah, this is easily the lowest it's ever been. 3 to 6 to 8 to 17 to 26. It's dropping, dropping, dropping. I'm definitely seeing the holes that you and others always saw in it, and I haven't played it in a while. But damn if it isn't playable. And like,
Yeah.
yeah. and I've souped it up and I've played it with everyone, and it's beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful game
Yeah.
and deserves its plaudits. Um, yeah, got some problems, but it's just great. It is
Yeah.
just great.
If you offered me both to play, I wouldn't know which to choose before that very
Yeah,
tension in that Birds just works better and Wormspan just works better.
yeah, yeah.
So like I couldn't put
And they are,
Wormspan
and
on.
this do you agree with me that they are discrete?
I
I'm
do.
slightly frustrated that they're as close as they are to each other in the list,
I don't
but I
care.
do think they're different.
Yeah, I can't put Wormspan on for my own rule because I've only played it the once, but
Sure.
it just plugged most of those holes. It's still got it's a stack of cards and you might not just get the thing that you're working
Yeah.
towards and sucks to be
Yeah.
used, somebody else
Yeah.
did. But there's enough intrigue in the now rather than triggering an action and getting some bonuses. You choose where you
Yeah.
place your expedition mark or whatever it's called to
Hmm.
trigger loads of stuff that you've been building up so
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
that almost inverse way of doing the engine building was more
Yes.
satisfying.
Yeah. And there's more ways to get what you want, not just one of each way.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is good.
and
Anyway, yeah,
Bird Leader is dead.
a
My
classic.
Yeah, my 26 is new to the list, but I don't think it should be because I don't remember when I got this. Maybe it was just after we did the list. All of them so far just seem to be right over my shoulder. This is Longshot the Dice Game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this was new.
It says new on what I've written, but that could be a lie.
Yeah.
Um, like I've said, for so many of the games on this list, on across all these lists, just fun. And again, I've played with so many different people, different types of people, different numbers of people, two player. Solo works. It's a dry wipe, roll and write essentially, but you're moving horses around a track. It's a horse race. That's what it is. But you can use the number dice to buy stuff, get bonuses, whatever it is. It's a mishmash of lots of things that yeah, I can totally see should be a slight step beyond just that family gateway kind of anyone can play this
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yet I've never had a problem with it. Like I explain it and you look at when I teach it, people do go, oh, like, wait, what can I do with these things? But two turns in, everyone's got it and everyone knows exactly what they're doing. And even if
Yeah.
it took you most of the game to figure that out, to a person, they've all gone, cool, let's do that again. Like it's just gone well every time
Yeah.
of pulling it out, and it's only this big-ish, so it fits in my bag. I can take it lots of places. It's dry
Yeah.
wipe, so it works camping and outside and stuff. Like it just works. It just works.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah, didn't care for it. Left me a bit cold.
Sure.
Maybe just try it again, but wasn't my favorite. There you go. 25 for me is the lowest it's ever been, and yet is one of the greatest experiences of your gaming history. Captain Sonar,
So good.
4-on-4, dry white markers, real-time battleships, and is never short of epic,
Yeah.
frankly. Um, you do have to have the right group. And I think possibly why, I mean, I haven't chosen to put this down. This is kind of how it's just sort of fallen, but it's probably why it's taken the sheen off a little bit because I can't just play it all the time. And it's like, oh, we've got 7 people. No, that guy's not going to enjoy this. Oh, that's not right. That's quite. You need to have people that are okay laughing at themselves,
Yeah.
but are also within that magic circle of like, we're playing to win, but we don't mind losing. It's a slightly tricky thing to. But when you have got that group, there's not a lot better.
Yeah.
There's not a lot better in the world. Captain Soda.
My 25, you also mentioned on a previous one. I don't remember if it was the last one or the one before. Up five spaces. Can't tell you why, other than it's amazing. Just one. My favorite party game. A lot of fun
Sure.
activity game. I don't care. There are some games like The
Yeah.
Mind that I'm like, that's not a game, go away. But this will just sit and play. And
Yeah.
three player, you get to write two words, but they can't be connected. It's like as if you're dummying almost extra players, and so it shouldn't
Mhm.
work. And yet it's still just a fun. cozy thing to do because there's no real stakes. Like Rick said, it's technically a beat your score, but no one cares. No one cares. It's just fun and funny. And I've used it in education settings and therapeutic settings, like in various jobs that I've had. Like it just works with so many people and is
Mm.
such a simple concept. It is more of like a parlor game that somebody's just turned into something. It's an element of balderdash type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Um, but it's cooperative, so no one cares if it's silly or if people match because that's just funny and fun, and you move on and you do something else and don't play with our dad. Just one.
Yeah. Right, number four, the number 24, up from 27, which was then down from 24. So it's been pretty consistent, but it has leapfrogged its sibling. This is now a race for the galaxy.
Hold on.
Yeah,
My 24 also very stable in my list, up 7 places, but it's jumped up and down around here consistently. Another one that I can just shove in my bag and take anywhere. I've played it significantly less recently, so I'm surprised it's held its place. I'm not when I look at my whole list, but if I was just thinking of it, I would might have put it a little bit lower. But Fuse, beautiful, like Rick mentioned with Captain Sonar, you need those people that manage stress and find that fun for a period
yeah,
of time.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Fuse is 10 minutes, and that's a 10-minute stress. It can occasionally be slightly tricky just teaching it, so I'll do it without the timer to begin with, and then we'll play a full game, and it just works. And I think you were like, I'm going to take this away and I'm going to beat it. um, and then you can have it
Yeah, and
back.
then never played it again. I'd never had any desire to play it again. But I,
Sure.
yeah,
Whereas, I do better with small social groups rather than large social groups. So
yeah,
3 or 4 people just as something to do to break up whatever else we're doing, for me,
mm,
just works really well
yeah,
and is a backpack game for me, Fuse.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I wasn't knocking it. I just sort of just, yeah,
Yeah.
I was done. Okay, number 23 is new. I got it earlier in the year. I very quickly moved it on, but as you can tell, that's not because I didn't love it, but because it doesn't have a place in my collection. Blitzkrieg World War II in 20 minutes.
So one of
Your
my
designer of
favorites,
the year,
Paolo.
Paolo Mori. This is outstanding. I mean, obviously it's skinned as a war game, but I don't think I give it to our dad who likes war games because it's really an abstract. But it's a two-player sort of back and forth abstract, like your Lost Cities, like your Seven Wonders Duel, like, the ones we talked about. And but what it does have that is war game like is threat. There's just always a level of, oh, but you could press that bomb and I'll be done. And like you're just on the hairy edge, you're just on the hairy edge. But hey, if it swung that way, suddenly you've won. And everything's like it's knife edge stuff. And it's all just like take a tile, do it. It's fairly sort of boring mechanically, if you
Hmm.
like, but just the way it plays out and the way it's set up is it just yeah, like we said of the King is Dead. It's a bit of magic, just a bit of magic in a tiny box doing magic things with not very much. That's Paolo Mori.
Yeah, we were talking about it at the group when I introduced them to Archaeos Society. They're like, oh, Paolo Mori, why do I know that name? A couple of things. And they're like, oh, have you tried Blitzkrieg? I'm like, no, it's always on my list to try, and it just hasn't
Yeah.
happened. And I just want to.
Hmm.
Yeah, my 23 is one of only 2 games on my list that has the exact same number as last year. So 23 last year, 23 this year, which in the grand scheme of things isn't up really, because I've got new games.
Yeah.
Only 2 new games above this, so it's gone up to sort of. Fantasy Realms, compulsive card
Okay.
game. Again, that pick up, put down, very simple mechanic that I seem to really like. It's in a lot of games that I enjoy. Um,
Mm.
Pick one up, put one down. To it's a hand builder. In the 2 player, they adjust it so you initially don't stuff down. You're just slowly building up your hand, and then once you've hit the limit, then it's about crafting. That's a better word than that. Begins with C. I can't think of it. Curating. There's the word. A hand that's going to be the best combination of bonuses that link to different things, and you stop all the things that stop things making points, and there's ones that can copy others. Like it's no theme. whatsoever. They've tried to put themes on it with like Marvel and Star Trek and all sorts of things, which are more thematic. We tried the Marvel one, that works. Um, but just I come back to this one every time because it's just that pure. I can ignore that part of my brain and just go for the combo and look at the numbers and look at the text. And
Mm,
I like a card game. I love a card game. And that pick up, put down, very simple mechanism works. And this is just a fast, compulsive thing that just sings for me.
mm. Yeah, I have. I still have the Marvel version. I think it's easier for me to teach people. Although Marvel's sort of less popular than it was. Um, but it's like, hey, look, there's bad guys and they're good guys. And who are you going to fight? Oh, yeah, cool. I'm creating this scene. And then when it plays out, it's like, oh, wow. And yeah, that has happened. And people, because they've ignored it. And then when I get them to tell the story at the end, they're like, oh, yeah, because then Thor did team up with it. He got the hammer. That makes sense. Yeah, cool. So that's quite nice. It's not in my 50, but yeah, it's a great little tiny game. Number 22 for me is another new one. Um, Cat in the Box Deluxe Edition.
Also on my list
So
to try. Very, very much so.
yeah, I don't, yeah,
You're not a trick-taking
okay.
person.
No,
In fact,
no,
you relatively
it
hate
was on a special
trick-taking
offer.
games.
I think I got it. I don't know how I ended up with it. Anyway, and so yeah, but I had it, and I think mum and dad were up. I was like, wait, maybe we should try this. This is a trick taking game mixed with not Pavlov's dogs, Schrodinger's cat.
Yes.
Um,
Because there are no suits,
where
right?
the, yeah, there. Well, no, yeah, all the cards are black, but when you play them, then you determine whether they're green, yellow, blue, or red. Red is always trump in because trick taking. And you have to follow suit unless you don't have any more of that color, by which you mark a thing saying, I don't have any of that color. And it's so like brain melting, like what? And you also bet on how many tricks you get, but you might want to bet low because if you have the your ugh. I'll show you at some point, but basically you're creating sort of like, oh, I've had the two, three, and four of blue, and I have a contiguous line of these things when I've declared what they are. And so if I get my bet right of how many sets I'm going to get, then there's gonna be a thing. But the problem is, there's a number of people who've all got threes, and someone put it on the blue, and someone put it on the thing, and someone else has declared they haven't got any red. There's only a red three available, but you've only got two threes left. And if you can't play it, you have what's called a paradox. You have a major paradox. And guess which of our family caused paradoxes more than others?
Dad.
That's right, our father. He's like, no, because it's so it really does. I don't think it feels like Schrodinger's cat, but it is sort of conceptual. So I took it around to my church group in the summer, and I was like, "Oh, I should teach you this," and they were like, "What is happening? What? But what is happening?" And I love teaching it because I'm like, right now, okay, we're going to follow suit. You've all played hearts on the computer. Da, da. Okay, now look. Do you see the colors of the cat? Okay, no. Well, no, but look at the cat. What color is it? Oh no, that's right. We haven't determined what color they are. And they're like, well, um, and it's a brain burner, but it's really tickled my fancy. It's really got me. Yeah, and it's definitely one of those games that's I don't know easier to play than to teach. Sort of. But you play it once and you go, oh, I see what I've done wrong. Okay, cool. Let's do the second round.
Yeah.
But if you cause a paradox, you get minus points. So it's like it's possible for people to catch up and stuff. So anyway, there you go. Weird, weird, weird game.
Cool.
22. Cat in the Box Deluxe Edition. And by the
Cool.
way, I don't know what the non-deluxe edition is.
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah.
My 22 is also a new game to the list. My penultimate new game. Got one more in the next one. Um, Again, had that experience of we played once and immediately wanted to play again. This was with a guy at my group. And then another week we got other people involved and we just wanted to play it, tried it with the expansion, got lots of stuff. Iki,
I play it.
super simple with beautiful crunch. Neither of us, you and I, particularly care for programming, but
Mm.
it's not quite. It's more of a is it for duty kind of no
Hmm. Hmm.
Bruno Cathala type bidding for turn order, which gives you
Yes, yes,
a
yes.
different
That's Catan.
number of
Yes.
movements to do different things, which
Yeah,
determines
yeah,
actually the
yeah.
order that you get to do next time, that kind of thing. Um, just
King
to
Domino, Yamatai, things like that.
yeah, just to go round a little market square and you get to start owning stalls on the market to
Mhm.
do resource conversions and things, and you're trying to keep a fire at bay that pops around every now and then. It's I don't know how to explain it to make it sound good and exciting, but we played it and
No,
just
no, I.
compulsive. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. It's just really fun. At two players, it was only about 40 minutes. With the four of us, it only took probably about an hour and 10, and it just worked. I could give take or leave the expansion. It adds some nice things, but I don't need it. I would happily just have get the base game forever. I don't own it. Always waiting for it to be at that price point that I'm just like I can't say no to this. Um,
Mm.
because also I know I have shelves, but they still have limits, and I can't just have everything. This would be something I would have for the right price, but it's a lot, sadly, for at
Mm.
its regular price. So if it ever drops, I'm on it and will love it, and will take it everywhere with me and try and get everybody to love it with me. Iki 22.
Mm. My 21 has climbed from 33 and from 66 the year before that.
Hmm.
But that's partly because pandemic is now all in one category. And I've listed it as Pandemic Iberia because for me that's the best standalone version.
Yep.
It's fun. It's set in the sort of 1800s and you have to build railways as well as water systems and but it's still just Pandemic. So I don't have any of the legacies and all that kind of thing in there, but overall Pandemic has climbed because it's not just Pandemic or Pandemic Iberia, it's all of them. So I think averaging out this is probably about right. I don't play many co-ops, but Matt Leacock is a very talented watcher of people and how they play, and his user interface is just very good. Oh,
Yep.
look, on the board it says this. On your player aid, it says the things you need to know. You never feel overwhelmed. You can teach all sorts of people. It's got depth in the sort of the legacies are fabulous. I absolutely love season one. Of coming to the end of playing it through a second time. Um, yeah, it's it's a modern classic, and with good reason, frankly. So the pandemic system, pick of the bunch, probably Pandemic Iberia.
Yeah, I played the base again a couple of months ago. It's never going to be in my top 50 because I just don't care for co-ops and stuff. But it was a particularly good play that we like won on the last action of the game,
Mm.
and when it works, you can't deny just how good it is. It's just not something I'm going to go to necessarily. By process of elimination, up 5 points, Rick. My 21. Tell me about Race for the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, sure. Race for the Galaxy is the card version. Well, it's the original version of Roll for the Galaxy, as I said before. And you have five actions. And I get this mixed up because they flipped the last two in Roll.
Oh,
But you explore, you settle, you develop, you produce a new ship, or you ship and you produce. I forget what it
sure.
is. Anyway, they changed that up. But basically, you are exploring planets, killing the people on those planets, maybe, or like just discovering what's on them, or setting up research stations in them, and then making goods and sending them on their way. It's very banal. The artwork is horrible. The whole theming is like, I hate sci-fi, and this is like just bad sci-fi, but everything is cards. It's like it's like Wingspan, but on absolute crack. They're like, oh, and obviously this came before Wingspan. It was like, imagine Wingspan, but without a board and without eggs and without pieces and without anything. Okay, what do you trade for? We've got it's all cards. It's all cards. Oh, I've got some point tokens, but it's all cards. And it's a very much a race game, not in a sort of like following a track on a map, but in a bit like Fantastic Factories as well. That sort of try and get stuff done before other people. It's an engine builder.
Yeah.
This does this, does this, does this. Oh, yeah, but I've got those things that does that better now. And I took this card and I sell that card. And it's a lot. It's not a friendly game. It's not a. It's not a game where you put it in front of someone and they go, "Oh yeah, I can play this."
Yes.
It's it's hard to penetrate, but once you do, it's incredibly smooth. And yeah, just the daddy of sort of card based engine builders.
Yeah. And I am terrible at it because I love it.
Oh, and
I
there's a follow mechanic. Didn't say that.
Sure. So whichever
Yeah,
action you play, you get a great version. Everybody else also does all of the actions, but at a lesser version. Um,
yeah,
but what I love about it that I'm terrible at is that it's a race. It's in the name, and I forget it every
yeah.
time because I love building my engine. And I'm at about 8 cards in, and somebody plays their 12th and the game's over, and I have like three-quarters of the earning potential for points. And I'm like, oh, I did it again. Every time. Darn it. I was trying to build this 1/6 cost technology or something for the develop action, and I was just
Yeah.
putting loads of cards and trying to do all this, and they've built a very smooth engine or not cared and just gone cheap stuff, cheap stuff, cheap stuff, cheap stuff, and just
Mhm.
blitzed everybody else because we were trying to earn points and they just went, no, I'm just going to take them. And you're like, oh, okay, I could have done that, I suppose. Like every time I play, the person that wins a different way, and I go, oh, maybe I'll
Mhm.
try that next time. I always forget to, but like every time I'm like, oh, I'd never considered that you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, and you're at the mercy. Why Rick says it's some of the Wingspan-esque stuff is you're at the mercy of this giant deck of cards. Like you get what you get and deal with it. But I also love those games to some degree where it gives you here's 7 cards. To use one of them, you're going to discard the rest. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
actually have 7 cards. I just have 7 choices. And
yeah.
that's fascinating and so satisfying. Really good. Not owned it in years now. I think you had my copy after me and that's gone. So it's been a long time, but boy,
Mm,
it sticks in my brain and I will sit down anytime.
yeah, yeah.
So good. 3/5 done. Amazing stuff. So that's 30 games. Well, probably like 20 games. I don't know. Yeah, no, we've had like what, 2 crossovers so far? Three,
Yeah,
maybe?
not much. Probably more than about five.
We'll have more as we go up because we tend to play similar games and tend to enjoy some similar games. But thank you very much for watching. I realize now, because I've been so time pressured, um, that I have not done all the YouTube stuff. In the whole, hey, if you like this,
Yeah.
consider subscribing to the channel and liking and bell icons, so new things. So do that maybe. Otherwise, be back next time when we do our 20, our penultimate list, the yeah, 20 through 19, 19
11.
through 10, 9, 11. Shush. I don't.
20 to 11.
Thank you. It nearly is. Um, just as a clue for when we record. But thank you very much for watching. I've been Dieter. For Win Some Loose. This is my brother Rick. We've been Too Loose doing our top 50 for 2024. I'm tired. See you again. Thank you very much. Goodbye.